How in the world does Huggy Wuggy appear at the end of Poppy Playtime Chapter 4? Is that really Huggy Wuggy or just a hallucination? How did he survive that long fall in Chapter 1? And the main question is, why was there red smoke at the end of Chapter 4 of Poppy Playtime? How will Chapter 5 continue? Will Kissy Missy and Huggy Wuggy finally meet each other? I'll tell you one thing for sure. If you watch this video till the end without skipping, it'll completely change everything you thought about Huggy Wuggy and your entire perspective on how Chapter 5 might continue. Hello guys, welcome back. So guys, in this video, we are diving into a full breakdown and everything you need to know about Huggy Wuggy, how he survived that fall, what happened at the end, the truth behind it all. This video is going to be insane, and the details you'll see here are just mind-blowing. If you watch this video without skipping even a second, then I promise you won't need to watch any other video on this topic. And at the end, we will definitely figure out what actually happened and how Chapter 5 might continue.
Hey GlimmerByte, where is our burnt toast? Why is he taking this long? Our viewers are waiting to see him roasted by a cracked egg. I think he really got burnt beyond recognition somehow. Hey GlimmerByte, I'm feeling too sleepy. I can't even see you clearly.
Yeah, same here, Huggy. Don't you think this looks kind of red? I feel like I've seen this before.
Yeah, I remember it too. Something like this happened exactly in our first video with Catnap.
Ha 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 ha! Finally the time has come. Hey guys, remember me? You all thought I was burnt beyond recognition by this cracked egg. Now look, the crispy noodles have fallen out of the packet like a rotten banana, and our egg is really cracked beyond recognition. Ha ha ha! Now I'm the king here. This channel is mine now. Ha 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 ha!
Hey, what happened? GlimmerByte.
What?
That sounded like our burnt toast. Where is he?
Hey Huggy, where are you?
What's going on? Didn't you two already fall unconscious?
Ooh, burnt toast. Finally you're here. Yeah, I missed you for so long, and now you're finally back. One little shock, and you're crispy as ever. Thank you guys. I think our burnt toast finally returned because you commented. Thank you so much.
Hey cracked egg, are you really cracked? You didn't pass out?
Hey burnt toast, are you so burnt beyond recognition that you actually sound like someone who really got burnt?
Ugh, my plan failed. It's like I released the wrong gas. My mouth's completely spoiled now.
Hey, what did you say?
Sorry, Huggy. I actually ate too much burnt toast. Hey, Huggy, what happened? Ooh, finally. My burnt beyonded non-existing plan actually succeeded. Yeah. Anyway, guys, today I will be your driver on this journey. We've got our crispy, rotten, cracked noodles lying on the screen, so let me move them aside. Okay, so now without wasting any more time, let's get to our video. So let's start from something simple. Who actually is Huggy Wuggy? Huggy Wuggy, also known as Experiment 1170, was one of the earliest subjects of the Bigger Bodies Initiative, a secret Playtime coder project to turn toys into living beings using real humans. He was created to serve as part of the factory's security system, especially around the entrance areas. That's why we see him in the entrance part of Playtime Co. Then how could he end up in the labs at the end of Poppy Playtime Chapter 4? If we go back to his fall in Chapter 1, this dude literally got cracked like a broken egg, again and again. When we drop the box on him, if you look closely, you'll notice that he could have used his hand to grab the catwalk and stop himself from falling. But the problem was, he got unconscious as soon as that box hit his head. So he didn't even get the chance to save himself. That means the moment the box hit him, Huggy was already out cold. He then fell down hard, slamming the left side of his head, the back, and even his face. That fall was this close to killing him. I'm talking like 99% chance of death kind of close. And think about it. If just the box made him unconscious, then imagine how many times his body cracked while bouncing off all those pipes. We can clearly tell how bad it was just by looking at him in Chapter 4. Dude is wrecked. His left hand is missing, his skin is torn up, and he's full of injuries. I don't even need to explain more. Just one look at him tells the whole story. Now let's think about the timeline. The time it takes to go from Chapter 1 to the end of Chapter 4 is somewhere around 15 to 20 hours. Maybe even more, like more than a day. So it makes no sense for Huggy to end up in the labs just like that. But what if Huggy fell near the labs? Nope, not even close. Huggy didn't fall anywhere near the labs. He fell from a very high upper region of Playtime Co. The labs, on the other hand, are located in one of the lowest parts of the factory. We only got there after traveling through tons of areas and finally falling through that explosion on the surface at the end of Chapter 4. That fall alone took 7 full seconds, which means we dropped from a huge height all the way down. So yeah, Huggy didn't land anywhere near the labs. But wait, how can we be so sure Huggy didn't land near the labs? If we fast forward to Chapter 2 of Poppy Playtime, in the toy production room of Bunzo Bunny, which is near the water treatment area, we can spot something strange. There are blue scratch marks and bloodstains in several places, on the walls, on pipes, and most importantly, near a vent. That clearly proves Huggy fell right in this area. So then how could he end up in the labs? Now some of you might be thinking, what if Huggy woke up and crawled through that vent? But guys, come on, that's absolutely impossible. We already know that the moment that box hit him in Chapter 1, Huggy was out cold, turned into an unconscious egg right away. And remember, we also saw his head slam hard into a pipe as he was falling. And who knows how many more times his body smashed into things on the way down. If you check out that Bunzo Bunny room in Chapter 2, you'll see lots of pipes hanging from the ceiling. Which means when Huggy fell there, he got brutally cracked into pieces by smashing into those pipes from a massive height. That's more than enough to put someone into a coma. So based on all that, Huggy wouldn't even be able to move his body. It would take at least a few days just for him to even open his eyes or turn his neck. And honestly, the more likely case is that he actually died there, like 99.9% sure. So now the question is, how did this cracked egg end up in the labs? As we saw at the end of Poppy Playtime Chapter 4, Huggy was not just standing, he was actually walking. And when he sees us, he runs at us super fast, like nothing ever happened, even though he was completely wrecked earlier. It's like he's fully healed from all those injuries. But we already said it's only been about 1 day, or at the very most 2 days, since we entered the factory and reached the labs. There's no way Huggy could recover like that on his own in such a short time. And more importantly, he had plaster on him, which means someone treated him. Plaster doesn't just appear out of nowhere, right? So what really happened is, Prototype must have taken Huggy through that vent and helped recover him. Or more likely, he gave the job to another experiment. And that brings us to Mommy Longlegs. Mommy could have taken Huggy's broken body and delivered him to the Prototype. That's why we see Huggy all treated and moving again at the end of Chapter 4. And if you've noticed in the Poppy Playtime Chapter 2 trailer, there's a scene where we can see Mommy pulling a Huggy doll. That could be a small hidden clue showing her connection to Huggy. Maybe it means she was the one who helped carry him to the Prototype. We can't confirm it for sure, but it makes sense. But there is something weird. We know the Prototype killed Catnap, who was still alive and had no problems in his body. He even saw the Prototype as a god and never fought against him. Also, the Prototype took Mommy's body, even though she was dead, to make her a part of himself. So then why did the Prototype save Huggy Wuggy even though he was in a very dead condition? One theory is that the Prototype killed Catnap because his body was in perfect condition with no serious damage, which made him useful to become a part of the Prototype. Remember what Mommy said right before dying? She said, "He'll make me part of him."
What have you done? He'll make me part of him!
Which means the Prototype uses parts from different experiments and builds himself bigger. But for Huggy, his body was already badly injured, just full of damage. So maybe he wasn't useful enough to be turned into a part of the Prototype. Catnap had no injuries and was in perfect condition. Mommy was dead, but not that damaged either. But Huggy was seriously broken. That's why the Prototype didn't absorb Huggy. He saved him instead. And also, if you remember from a VHS tape in Chapter 2, Huggy was mentioned as a maximum obedient experiment. That could be another reason why the Prototype brought him back to life.
Experiment 1170, Huggy Wuggy, remains the optimal outcome due to his sufficient intelligence paired with maximum obedience. End of log.
Mommy might not have been as obedient to the prototype as Huggy was. We know from VHS tapes that both Catnap and Huggy were very obedient, but we never saw anything confirming that from Mommy. And when Mommy was dying, she sounded super scared of the prototype and hated the idea of becoming part of him. But here's my main theory. The prototype killed Catnap just to make us fear him, to show us that he can even eliminate a powerful antagonist like Catnap in seconds. And also, he wanted Catnap's perfect body to make himself stronger. And as for Mommy, we saw with our own eyes that the prototype took her body. So it's very clear he made her a part of him too. That's why it doesn't make sense for the developers, Mob Entertainment, to bring these characters back. We already saw what happened to them, so bringing them back would just ruin the story. But for Huggy Wuggy, we never saw what happened after his fall. Many people believed he was dead. So Mob brought him back to surprise us and make us super excited for Chapter 5. Now, if we talk about Huggy's fall realistically, of course he should have died. But remember in Chapter 2, in Elliot Ludwig's room, we learned that he believed poppy flowers could bring dead things back to life. And by the way, guys, do you know that Elliot Ludwig is actually the prototype? And that's 100% confirmed. I even proved it in my video. If you're not sure, just click here to watch it, and it'll completely change how you see the Poppy Playtime story. So since Elliot is the prototype, he knows how to bring dead things back to life. If Huggy died, the prototype could have used his knowledge to bring him back. We can't be sure if Huggy was fully dead or just close to it. His head was completely cracked, but in Chapter 4, we only see a small injury on top. That shows Mob doesn't always keep things accurate, and we can't expect full realism here. And also, Huggy's left hand was lost, but I think the prototype might have cut it during the operation to revive him, because that hand might not have been very useful for Huggy, and it could have been badly damaged. If the hand was actually separated from his fall, then we should have seen his arm somewhere in the toy production room of Bunzo Bunny. So I think the prototype might have removed it during the operation. Or maybe it got split in the fall, but that seems less likely. Now let's talk about who took Huggy after his fall. I think most likely, the prototype took him through that vent. Because we know the prototype has insane speed. When we killed Mommy, the prototype was already there to take her body. And also when Catnap was roasted. Sorry, I forgot I was actually Catnap. So when Catnap got a little shock for some energy by us, the prototype was already there, ready to eliminate him. So it means the prototype was ready to take Huggy when he was there. Why I say this is because I think Mommy doesn't obey the prototype that much. And also, it would take a nice amount of time for Mommy to take Huggy's body and carry it to deliver it to the prototype. We know the labs are very long from Bunzo Bunny's toy production zone. If Mommy had done that, then we couldn't have seen her in Chapter 2 when she grabs Poppy just in time. So it leads us to 3 possibilities. One is, Prototype himself took Huggy. Second is, Prototype might have given this job to another experiment, but this is very less likely. And the last is, Mommy could have taken Huggy halfway and given him to the prototype somewhere in between. But here the most possible and what actually happened is that the prototype himself took Huggy. Okay, so after Prototype made him recover, he might have let him protect the labs. So now we have a clear idea how Huggy got into the labs. But why did he appear only when we put the VHS tape? One theory is that this might be a coincidence, but I do not believe it. Now for the second one, we want to go back to Chapter 1. When we first saw Huggy, he didn't attack us right away. Instead, he just stood there like a statue. Why? This won't happen unless Huggy was controlled by someone else. The only explanation is, the prototype was controlling him. From Project Playtime, which is also made by Mob Entertainment, the creators of Poppy Playtime, we see in the tutorial for being the monster. Huggy behaves with maximum obedience to the prototype and does exactly what he says. So from this, it's clear. Huggy was in full control of the prototype at that time. That's why Huggy gave us the key in Chapter 1. Now just ask this simple question. Why would someone like Huggy collect a key and plan to give it to us? And more importantly, how could he even get that key? The only answer is, Prototype gave it to him. So now it's clear. It was actually the prototype from the beginning who was controlling Huggy. And Huggy acted exactly how the prototype wanted him to. It was the prototype's plan to bring us to that specific spot. If you remember the vent chase with Huggy, the vents only open and close according to our movements. And they guide us to the other side, where we drop the massive box on Huggy, causing him to fall. So now we understand. It was all the prototype's plan. Do you think those vents would open and close perfectly like that by themselves? Never. That could only happen if someone was controlling them, and that someone is the prototype. It was all planned. It's like a survival test set by him, to see if we survive. And guess what? We did. And it seems like Prototype even placed that big wooden box there, our finishing move. Now the second theory is that the Prototype told Huggy to go when that loud sound emerged at the end of Chapter 4. Also, since Prototype let him protect the labs, and we know Huggy Wuggy was originally a security guard at Playtime Co., especially at the entrance, then it makes sense for him to react to that sound. That leads us back to the VHS tape we first encountered in Chapter 1, Leith Pierre's closing tape. In the tape, he says, "If you're watching this tape, that means you are a trespasser," which means we entered the factory without permission. This tape is played on a loop when they close the factory for the day. Leith also says that security is extremely important and gives an example of their system. He says the facility is full of hidden motion triggers, and if any motion is detected, it will trigger the emergency alarms, with big sounds and red lights, exactly like what we see at the end of Chapter 4. He even says this is one of the tame aspects of their security system. That means there are even more insane and deadly systems in the factory, which also means it could alert security creatures too.
Hi, my name is Leith Pierre, and I'm the head of innovation here at the Playtime Co. Toy Factory. If you're seeing this, then you're trespassing. Yeah, we play this little tape on loop whenever we close the factory for the day. So, trespasser, just to make you aware, while we pride ourselves primarily on our high-quality toys and excellent childcare, we also pride ourselves on our security. For example, this facility is full of hidden motion triggers, which, once set off, will turn on the factory's emergency alarms and directly contact the authorities. And that's one of the more tame aspects of our security system. No spoilers. So, you've got my warning. It's not too late to turn around. I just hope that you're certain whatever you're doing is worth it.
But something feels off. When we enter the factory in Chapter 1, there's nothing like that. So maybe the system is broken or inactive because the factory was completely shut down during the Hour of Joy. And let's be real, during the Hour of Joy, everyone was running for their lives. Do you think anyone would stop and activate the security system? No way, their focus was just on surviving. But since Leith referred to this as a tame security aspect, I think Huggy Wuggy could be what he's hinting at, the most dangerous security system in Playtime Co., who instantly eats you. Why I think this is, there aren't any motion systems deeper in the factory either. So either it's broken, or Huggy was meant to be the real security system. So as we know, Huggy Wuggy was made for security purposes. Then it makes total sense for Huggy to appear when this alarm sound triggers, like we saw at the end of Chapter 4. So I actually believe Huggy came on his own when he heard the alarm, and the Prototype led him to protect the labs. So now it's clear how Huggy got to the labs, and why he appeared exactly when that sound emerged. So now the biggest question is, where did Huggy even come from? Look, after the explosion at the end of the chapter, we fall down and reach that room. The only possible way to get there is the same path we took. And there's literally no other entrance to that place. But guess what, guys? If we observe the game closely, Huggy just appears out of nowhere like he's got the power to teleport, which leads us to a crazy theory. What if Huggy was once a superhero in the Avengers? Like you know, Doctor Strange, he once
Roasted burnt toast by a microwave oven.
How will the story continue? How will Huggy react to Catnap? What will he do to him? Will GlimmerByte finally kick the burnt toast from the channel? From where did Huggy come to that hall? Will Kissy Missy and Huggy finally meet face to face in Chapter 5? What was the real purpose of the red smoke we saw at the end of Chapter 4? And how exactly will Chapter 5 begin? All these questions are going to intensify, and the answers will absolutely shock you. So stay cautious for Part 2, because it's going to blow your mind. Until then, stay safe and goodbye.